what ethnicity would you think I am? Any guesses? So I heard Hispanic?
Indian.
Okay. American Indian?
Japanese.
Filipino? Japanese?
Thai.
Okay, Thai. So I'm actually 1/4 Indian. My grandfather on my mom's side is from outside of Madras or Chennai in the state of Tamil Nadu. And so that's why I'm a little bit darker. And that's why in middle school I was called a beaner once. So it's, I remember being a little bit shocked, but not really, it wasn't quite like being offended, but it was like, oh, so you're going to be a racist, but you can't even be a good racist. So it was just utterly confusing for me.
We are really kind of cosmopolitan people. As much as America needs for us to be miserable and minuscule minorities, we have a long, elegant history which we bring here. Ask us. In fact, we intend now to lead. We intend now not to follow anymore. We have seen what happens when ethnic minorities in America follow the mainstream. We're not so happy about it. So without asking now, we're going to begin leading. It's not an insurgency. Take a deep breath. No jihadis in the room. I'm Muslim, I can say that. But for us to follow is no longer workable. It's not happy. It's not healthy. Not for us, certainly. Not for mainstream America.
There's been a lot of work that shows how in the early days of science, scientists went around discovering people, color-coding humanity, and typically a lot of ethnocentricity in how that was done. Even between ethnic groups, the English and the French spent a ton of money trying to determine which race was superior. We also saw, as explorers went to various parts of the world, they kind of downgraded humanity that was of different colors. And much of that made it into our science. Much of that made it into our body of knowledge. We're still struggling with a lot of that today. The greeting thing is really, really important. One of the things we do at Providence is not a plug, absolutely, is we have something called the 5-10 rule, which means that we get within 10 feet of someone and you see them, you nod at them and say, you acknowledge them. Within 5 feet, you actually say something. What we found, and what the research kind of shows, is that when people give you love or give you a nod and you don't give it back, particularly if they're anxious, it kind of ups the ante, it kind of ups the anxiety.
I think the media is definitely something that's very important, because if there's anything that the millennials are known for, is that we are obsessed with our media, whether it's blogs, our TV shows, our movies. I mean, that's like, it's attached to our hip. It's like with us all the time. And me and my sister always have a joke that, if I believed what was on the TV or movies, like, we should hate ourselves. Like, I should walk around being like, I am the ugliest, weirdest, just oddest person in the entire world because of what the media throws back at me for what I'm supposed to be. When people see those images, that's what makes sense in their head. That's how they're supposed to act. And it's not only a detriment to, white people, it's a detriment to these usually like impressionable kids of color who think, wow, if I like art or if I like this, I must be kind of odd. So, let me just kind of enter into the minstrel show. Let me just do this and do that, because obviously I'm not supposed to talk like how I talk or be like how I am.
So what is our job as humans? Our job is to portray a positive interaction, to bridge. No matter how much challenges we face, we have to build bridges of understanding. We have to talk in a positive way, to talk and talk and talk, and have a plan of action. And this is the only way that we'll be able to create that utopian society, better of love and respect.
I'm an award-winning diversity development proponent. I promote diversity. I believe in diversity. Why do I believe in diversity, and how can I promote it so easily? Because my religion promotes diversity. My religion recognizes the differences and the rights of all people to have those differences. And they don't have to be or follow my faith in order to be afforded the right and respect for their diverse colors, shapes, sizes, ethnicities, gender, and points of view. And that's a reality. And in fact, my religion requires me to defend that.
There's a long history of projects done by the city in this neighborhood. And what they all have in common is a disregard for the consequences of how they affect the people who live here. The sum total effect of all of them is to nearly destroy the black community by making it impossible for them to maintain their families, homes, and community here in the Williams Avenue District. This is a meeting of the Portland Development Commission in November 1971. The guy is pointing to his reader board there, and I'll tell you what that says. The chart points out for the criteria for the Model Cities program that planning must involve residents of the affected area and the city as a whole. So what the Portland Development Commission and Emmanuel did in concert with each other was to do an in-run around this program. They got an exemption to the Model Cities program so that the Portland Development Commission could simply condemn another 9 square blocks of houses and demolish them and not have to go through any community involvement. This is the district that was torn down. What was then the most important core of the Williams Avenue Business District. This is Williams and Russell. We're looking northwest. And so Emmanuel was able to get those 9 square blocks of mostly black-occupied residential and commercial buildings. But just as the bulldozers finished their work, the news arrived that the funding for the Emmanuel expansion project had failed to vote in Congress. They didn't even have the money to build that. So they tore all this land down, and when you go up Williams and you see those vacant blocks, they're still there. More so than any other neighborhood in Portland, the Williams Avenue District has endured the priorities of politicians and special interest groups because it has the least amount of political power of any neighborhood. The character of this neighborhood is more challenged today than it ever has been. This issue is not about public safety. The issue is whether the neighborhood can have a say in the plans that will forever change the character of it.
Somebody asked me recently, I was back on the East Coast, and they said, you're a real Indian, aren't you? I said, yeah. They said, well, I could tell because I could see it in your cheekbones. So I said, really? I hate it when people stare at my ass. So the other day I was at this group of men, and this guy, we were crossing in this hallway at this function. He said, hey, Chief, how you doing? So I said, it's not a good thing, so don't call me Chief. He said, all right. So the next day or later that same day, he says, Chief, did you have a good day? I said, yeah, but I really prefer it if you don't call me Chief. He says, all right, Chief. So he's a little bit older than me, so I'm trying to be respectful. He's like an elder. So anyway, the next day, he shakes my hand each time, and so the next day he says, "Did you have a good night, Chief? Did you sleep well?" So I said, "Okay, we got to talk." And so here's the deal: it's disrespectful and offensive when you call me Chief. If you call an African American person a nigger, or this person a wop, and all the other kind of stereotypical pejorative terms, these are offensive things. And so it's offensive when you call me that. In the Lakota way, I want to be Chewichash. I want to be a common human person. We don't have chiefs and strive to be great and be recognized for greatness as chiefs. We don't even use that kind of language. So he goes, wow, I am so sorry. I had no idea. I was calling you Chief because I recognize these qualities in you, so I was meaning it in a very complimentarian way. So he said, forgive my ignorance, because I just didn't know. I said, well, that's okay, then we're cool. So then he shook my hand again, and he dislocated my finger for the 3rd time. Because I had a basketball injury, so this finger pops out of joint all the time. So I said, and another thing, when you come to our native communities, don't smash our hands. We don't shake hands like that. Like white guys have a need to pee on the bush in the yard by shaking hands, and there's a value of strength and courage and confidence attached to how much you smash the other dude's hand. And so if we never take the time to know and to love our neighbor, then we will be bound by our own ethnocentric bias. And every person in this room, red, yellow, black, and white, you are narrow-minded, ethnocentric, with limited vision, as am I. And the reality is, there are no exclusions. So repeat that with me, if you don't mind. Entertain me here. So I am ethnocentric, narrow-minded, with limited vision. Okay, look at somebody at your table and say, you are ethnocentric, narrow-minded, with limited vision. And there are no exceptions.
I don't want to talk about the abstractions of race and sexism. I want to talk about the realities, what it feels like. I want you to think about it. I want you to know that it hurts when you step into a school that says no niggers on the step, and you are terrified and you don't know what's going to happen to you, and there's nobody there to protect you. It is your first day in this school on the west side of Chicago. It's terrifying. I went into therapy. It helped me get over some of the belief that it was my fault. It never helped me get over the scars. I grew up talking to my therapist about feeling born bass-backwards into the world. I didn't like myself because I was gay. And I couldn't figure it out how I was going to live in this world and be an upstanding human being. I used to tell her, I think I just want to get on my horse and ride off into the sunset, because I just don't know what to do with all this stuff. I went in crying. I said, this is wrong and that's wrong, and this is wrong and that's wrong, and talked about my family and the complications there and about myself. And she said, you know, I can't do anything about all the rest of those people, but we can do something with you. I stopped crying. I said, whoa, this woman makes sense. It makes sense. Something has to change here. I grew up and I decided it didn't really matter much to me why somebody was going to be biased or bigoted when they related to me. I didn't care if it was because I'm a dyke, or because I'm black, or because I'm a woman, or because I'm fat. I'm sick of it. I am just absolutely, positively sick of it. I don't even care about the analysis. Just get the hell out of my way.